Which of these two teams, in your opinion, is more likely to make the playoffs?
And see, this is a great question because I honestly really do have to think about it. But it's, when it's a question like this, you always got to lean well, more importantly, I have to ask myself, who are the next two teams that they're playing? And I do believe that I had it written down here. So for the Bengals, you got the Chiefs and the Browns up next. Yeah, and then for the Steelers, you got the Seahawks and the Ravens. I think either way, it's pretty daunting across both of them. I think what I'm going to say is, though, this is my final thought. I can very much see the Bengals losing both of those next two. I see the Steelers at least got a good shot at one of these. Some way, somehow, you may be the Ravens resting their starters. If that can work out, I don't really even know how that. I don't think
if they clinch the one.
So because a lot of things would have to happen next week, if I'm not mistaken. Let's say that happens. Just maybe. I think that for that reason alone, and again, I'm going to lean with the coach that I have more faith in. Not that Zach Taylor hasn't shown a lot of these past few years, because he has, but I still got to go with Tomlin. Got to go with Steelers. And if Mason Rudolph can keep that hot streak going just for a little bit longer that he might have just started this past week, I feel like just knowing what the Steelers have been, what Steelers do, I don't know. It's just more of a gut feeling, but I'm going to lean Steelers. And it's like, and they got TJ. You got guys like Minka. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'd be wrong counting them out versus as much as we love the Jake Browning show. I don't know. I feel like this might be one of those weeks where it shows how volatile it can be.
Okay, so let's start with the Steelers then. Did you expect them to put up 34 points on the Bengals? Because not to say that the Bengals defense is like all world, but I mean, versus a Mason Rudolph-led offense, I thought they would have been a little bit more competitive.
No, I think all it does, and this just reemphasizes what we already knew about the league. And for whatever reason, it gets glazed over all the time, but it's true. Like we say, it's a slow leak. Even when you're someone who like they have tape on, like a Mason Rudolph, you sneak in, you fall behind the scenes for a while. Like, people kind of forget about you. And you come back out, nobody has your tendencies. And even if you newer tendencies you have, it's like, I feel like this was another prime example of like, it's kind of sometimes the advantage when you don't have any tape that season. Like was this more the result of Mason, or was this the result of not being able to prepare for what this offense was going to be? So it's like,
I don't think they could have prepared for what George Pickens did either.
Well, that's very true also. So it's like, and that more than anything, I think if you're George Pickens, you're lobbying for Mason to finish the year as the QB, because it's like you finally have a connection with one of your guys.
Well, I believe Kenny's not coming back next week.
So yeah, at this rate, that raises an interesting question. Let's say that the Steelers do go on a 2-game win streak here and make the playoffs. I mean, do you take the keys away from the guy who's running it hot with Mason and give him back to Kenny? I mean, interesting situation. I think you can see how George was feeling with Kenny. And I mean, we've been saying all year, George is one of those guys who wears the heart on the sleeve. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's not a fan of the situation with that Steelers offense anything before last week. And he said, too, I want to include his quote. He said, all I'm here to do is win. It's like, hey, all I'm going to say is after last week, if Mason can keep this up, I think he's your best shot to win.
I think that's what Mike Tomlin is looking at too, because the reality is, if he loses these next 2 games, this is his first year under 500. And while that is very impressive, and like I'm not trying to take that away, I think it just kind of sets like you're stepping into an area you've never stepped into before with Tomlin. And not to say that it'll have any like super aggressive effects, but like you see how things are in the NFL. Like when things to start not going well, it can spiral very fast. And it's like, I think Tomlin wants to avoid that as quick as he can. I mean, look at Belichick. We're talking about job security. This is someone who brought 6 Super Bowls to a team in the last 20 years. Like,
things around the Tomlin situation are starting to feel a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And you saw a thing where Ryan Clark went on the show on one of the ESPN shows. I saw a little snippet on Twitter, and he was saying, look, and this is like somebody who won Super Bowls with the man, played with the man, Pro Bowls under the man. And he was like, look, I think he should get out. My thing is, when someone who I know has that close of relationship, at least at some point with the man, makes you think like, does part of him know? Or does part of, does maybe, would it be best for, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Does Tomlin feel that maybe another spot would be, a fresh start would be good? Obviously, none of this is going to be public information, but you get what I'm saying? I'm just raising questions. Like, just maybe, is it feeling like if they don't make the playoffs, Tomlin's out? Like, is there a feeling in the building? Is there a feeling, is he creating, it's a weird situation, I feel like, going all around.
I don't feel like they'd fire him, and I don't think he'd quit. I feel like it could be one of those situations where like we're mutually parting ways.
Basically what the
Because
Saints did.
yeah, I don't think anyone like wants to like, oh, I hate it here, or like, oh, the ownership is so bad. I really think it has to do with more just like, you know what, maybe we just need, because if you think about it, when he won the Super Bowl with Ben, like that roster was kind of already there.
Oh no, that's one of the things I think, that Steelers fans always bring up, where it really pretty much not all the way, but very much it was already the baseline of the team. Everything you needed was already there. So, but I think regardless, you always got to give Mike his credit. Like Mike's proved he's a great coach, and that's the thing. Is maybe just maybe is that, to your point, is the best next situation for him to find that next type of situation where things are kind of already in place, but the coach just isn't there, and you got a guy like Mike who brings the discipline, brings the fire, brings the enthusiasm, gets guys wanting to play and knowing that if they don't have their shit together, they're not going to be getting minutes. Sometimes it just maybe. But I think obviously, if you're asking me, and I've already stated, if I'm the Steelers, I'm keeping him. But it's just the point I'm raising because it's definitely going to be something that's going to be rumbling this offseason because it's already started.
So let's move over to the Bengals. A bright spot, obviously, like Jake Browning, like everyone, I saw a lot of people shitting on Jake Browning. Yes, he had 3 interceptions, but he still threw for 335. Like, this is a backup who's played how many games? Like, let's see. He's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Not bad. He's thrown for 300 3 times. So almost basically 50% because I'm going to take out the Cleveland game. So 6 games, 3 games he's thrown for over 300 yards. Like, really can't complain from a backup with that. T. Higgins showed out, obviously. I mean, he's looking like a wide receiver 1. He's going to get paid. Well, he's going to get franchised.
It's going to be a weird situation because could he be one of those guys that says he could just say, I'm not going to play on that, right? Force the hand.
He could, but I could also see like a team like the Panthers. I don't know, just offering whatever they have left for him.
No, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. Where it's like if you're T. Higgins, you're putting yourself in a great situation regardless because you're getting paid and you're going to be getting paid top money to potentially just be able to say, I'm just chilling this year.
Yeah.
I mean, because if they were going to do that to you and you've made it clear that you want to hit the market, we know how this goes. That's a volatile situation every single time.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be something to keep our eye on. But yeah, after that slow start, I'm glad to see T back on track.
Yeah, he had like a crazy ass play last week that I forgot who did. Someone did something similar that week, but it's just like it just shows off all that he can do. Like you were saying earlier, up against the Chiefs and Browns these next 2 weeks, the likelihood of them making the playoffs or doing that, and that's how I kind of feel about both these teams. Like, I feel more confident in the Steelers being able to steal a game just because of their defense in the playoffs, but both these teams are going to have a really rough time. Very low chances, 17% for the Bengals and 14% for the Steelers.